Now, we've covered a lot of information today, and we're sure you've got questions. So at this time, let's welcome Jess Razik back to the stage to help address the questions you've submitted both in person here today and online.
I know I'm screwing up the agenda, and now everyone's having all kinds of questions. We are getting close on time, and I want to make sure that we can keep us on schedule. And I also see them rolling in the bar and the snacks for the reception. So I want to make sure we get the opportunity to keep the Q&A session full length so we can address the questions that you've submitted. So we have folks heading up this way to answer your questions, but just a few remarks as people are getting settled. So we've gone through a ton of information today, and I know it can be a bit like drinking from a fire hose. And as you start thinking about what your next steps look like, please be sure to use the resources we've talked through. Coaching sessions would be a great next step. Be sure to leverage the curriculum. The brochure in front of you is a tremendous resource. As we're going through the Q&A, please remember how tremendously valuable your feedback is. And I would encourage you to take an opportunity to start thinking about the questions that are there in front of you in the survey. But with that, we've gotten a great list of questions, both from our participants online and from folks in the room. And we'll go ahead and start running down through those now. First up is a question that's likely a good fit for our program managers on stage. And it's, do performers move between DARPA offices as their technology matures or changes? For example, could a performer in BTO transition to TTO? Does anyone want to start with that one?
I mean, I can. So I think that's an interesting way of phrasing it, right? So we do have performers that are I don't think it's okay, cool. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. All right, cool, Peter. Or also, yes. Okay, so thank you, the online folks. So I think the phrasing is interesting. So we don't necessarily transition technology between offices, but we absolutely have performers who work across offices, have partnerships across offices. And I think it really pulls out the interdisciplinary nature of where a lot of our offices are looking to go. And so certainly kind of think broadly and creatively about the ways in which you could intersect with all those offices.
Then I think one classic workflow is like if you go from DSO to MTO to STO to TTO, we go like new physics to new widget to new component to like putting on a platform. I think that's like a classic kind of like through line, but that's not, of course, essential at all. It's just one framework, but it's not required or expected.
All right, excellent. Next step. I'm a startup with a 10-month runway developing a product to support the warfighter. How can I effectively engage with DARPA given that my immediate focus is on the near-term capability while DARPA's traditional focus is on technologies 10 years into the future?
Keep doing awesome things. So I think again, there are a wealth of opportunities in the DARPA sphere, I think, for doing great things. Again, if you are really pushing the state of the art and getting after something in the immediate, that's where your focus is. But maybe all of the things that you're learning in that process can become part of a conversation with us in terms of where we also need to continue to push and drive, right? Again, it's what's the basis of confidence? Where do we go from here? You've just basically made yourself an expert in one of the many conversations we're going to have.
I'll say nobody puts a time scale on disruption if we define it correctly. And the 10-year mark is kind of an idea of DARPA, right? Yep. We're reaching beyond the state of the art currently. Disruption, right? Creating a new market that doesn't exist. And the term gets overused so much, right? It's not sustaining innovation. That is not our goal. We are looking to do things differently. But time scale, I think 10 years is a thought process. But if you're doing something now, use all the resources through Connect, reaching out to program managers, and I think you'll gain the traction you need.
Excellent. Next up is a SBIR-related question. So Jen, this one will be over to you. Can I have a lower TRL level and still get funded via SBIR?
Absolutely.
Really, the best way to get an SBR and STTR is to engage with the lovely program managers up here. I enjoy speaking with you and helping find your technology, but I am really the conduit or liaison. They are really the front door to any sort of funding. And so I think they are TRL agnostic. They are really focused on your idea and your innovation. And that's important, right? That's why we talk about the Homeyer and engaging with a program manager, because as you're engaging with them, you could be giving them their idea for their next program, seedling, maybe Aris Enduring Topic, or a SBIR and STTR. So I would focus maybe less on TRL and more on the disruption and connecting with the program managers.
Excellent. And on that note, related to Aris, one of our next questions, and this kind of resonates with our earlier conversation too about technologies that span across multiple offices. If my technology is a novel solution that doesn't fit neatly into a single topic area on Aris, what's your recommended pathway for submitting something that doesn't fit neatly within the current solicitation topics?
I'd say we need to exercise creative reading, right? I mean, sentences and commas mean something, but I would find it kind of hard to reason out why somebody wouldn't submit under an Aris topic area. Now, outside of that, there are office wides that are kind of also an enduring mechanism for you to present your solution. A lot of times those walk through steps. You know, you'll do an abstract white paper, maybe a firm proposal after it's PM matched. So don't get locked in on a single pathway to DARPA because, you know, as you heard everybody talk up here today, myriad of opportunities, and that gets confusing. I get it, but where you fit in that ecosystem is just as important as who you talk to.
Excellent. Next up, Andy, I'll pose this one to you. If I have an idea that could span multiple offices, can I present that same idea across those offices? And similarly, can a performer have more than one program at a time?
Yes and yes. I would just caution you when you do that, though, tailor the idea for your audience, for the office and the office's mission and thrust areas. I've seen it before where a performer will reach out with an idea to a PM in a different office. PM will say, not interested. I'll get like a cut and paste, a total recycle of the idea. And if the idea was rejected on the grounds that it wasn't a DARPA hard program, I'm going to give you the same feedback. So if you reach out to someone, you get feedback, act on that feedback. Don't just cold call, email every program manager in the building, because we also talk to each other. Yeah.
It's a small building. It might be 13 stories, but everybody knows everybody. So you've been warned. All right, Colleen, this next one's for you. This person says, I see that the Homeyer is required when submitting an application for interest in becoming a program manager. How mature should my idea be when creating that submission?
I would suggest that it's thought out and professional, but it doesn't have to be completely baked. From essentially, once you submit, it comes to my office through that portal that they're looking at, and we will share that with the office directors. And if an office director is interested, they will be in touch. We'll put the office director in touch, and they can then work with the candidate if they're really interested to help ensure that the idea is developed enough that they can then go through the process.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Next up, a few questions related to international participation. As an international researcher, what's the most effective way to engage with DARPA? Are there specific programs beyond standard BAAs designed to facilitate international collaboration?
I'll just say, I think the answer is not necessarily, but again, we are, by our remit, we are trying to create and prevent surprise. Oftentimes that might require solution sets, technologies that are beyond sort of domestic capabilities. And so that's when we think it's totally appropriate to bring in international partners to shore up, right? So I was running a program that had performer in the Netherlands, in the US, and then New Zealand, right? And so the time zones were kind of nutty there, but we got it to work, right? So even despite that, so that was one program, right? And so that's like, it's like, this so-and-so is the world leader in this, so-and-so is the world leader in that. Bring him in, right? Like that's what has to happen to fulfill our mission, right? Totally fine.
Yeah, I have international performers as well. It'll be spelled out in the eligibility section of the opportunity. So just read that carefully.
Excellent.
Hey, I also want to give a plug for DARPAConnect.us. We do have a global participation module, and we also have a recorded global participation webinar. And I would encourage you to take a look at that because it really walks through the steps of where you can and can't partner with the agency.
Excellent. Okay, next step. I understand that DARPA proposals often recommend creating a team to address the full scope of a program, but as an independent researcher, it's difficult to find partners. What are the best practices for finding a strategic teaming partner, and what are the most effective team compositions for successful DARPA projects? I see Shauna making a face. We just had a webinar. You should watch it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we did. So I think there's a couple of things that you can do. So if you're kind of thinking about being an individual contributor, one of the things that this is also where program managers and talking to us, talking to our teams can also help, right? Like we can also introduce you to people. We can say, oh, like we're aware of other people in the space. So we're able to do some of those kind of introductions informally as well. And also this is an opportunity where even if you don't think you're ready, right? And you do, let's say there is an industry day or proposers day, it's okay to show up, right? And if you have that time, and that's a way where you can actually meet people, have conversations in person, there's a lot of opportunities. Even if you decide that that opportunity is not specifically right for you, there's really no substitute, right, for actually getting kind of in person with folks and being able to talk not only about what you do, but what you're looking for. And it gives you a chance as well to see like, hey, you know, how would we work together? Because we do move fast. It's fast and furious. And that also means that you really want to have some in-person time with people who are going to be very intimate collaborators in the near future.
Excellent. Any other thoughts from other panelists as well? I know what are you seeing with team composition? Anything that stands out or recommendations you make there for how people should think about finding a fit?
Well, so two thoughts there. One, take advantage of the industry days, or sometimes called proposers days. A lot of times you'll be allowed to submit a teaming profile. I've done that for mine in the past. I think most other folks do, which is where you'd write just a page about who you are, what your capabilities are, and where your gaps are specific to the program. And I've seen it more than once where that has led to teaming arrangements directly from those profiles. So that's good. Then the question of team composition, this is a common question. Like, do I need to have industry, small, medium, or large business and a government lab on my team to be successful? The answer is no. There's no like silver bullet, one size fits all. Here's the perfect team structure. It really depends on the problem you're trying to solve and the technology and expertise you need to bring to bear on the problem. So I would think about it from that standpoint. We or at least I don't look on a proposal as better or worse if there's a certain team from different areas or different academia, industry. It doesn't matter to me. It's do you have the right people to solve the problem.
Excellent. All right, next up. What's DARPA's policy on intellectual property and data rights for technologies developed under its funding? And how do you help performers navigate the complexities of intellectual property for dual use technologies?
Yeah, I'll take that. So traditional speak, right? If government is giving you non-dilutive cash, there's an expectation of right of use. Now, the government never takes your intellectual property. We get a right of use to it. Under another transaction model, it is very flexible. If you have a commercial use case built in and are contributing resources, we want you to take it. We want you to go to the private market and make $1 million, make $1 billion. That's great. That's great for our dime philosophy and the the economic power. But everything is unique, right? If we expect to transition or building that into our program, we might need tech data. We might need TDP that can transition to our services that can know how to use and build something. So depending on the program, depending on the use case, it's flexible. I'll start there. But it's part of the negotiation process.
I'll just add to this. I think actually the stickier part is actually how the IP works between the different subcontractors on a contract. That's actually been kind of my experience. So actually the DARPA to prime is varied, but usually pretty clean. It's more of the prime to subs is where things get a little trickier.
All right. Beyond the video pitch, what are the key expectations for ARIS supplemental slides, and specifically the quad chart and white space chart? So let me contextualize by saying those 7-minute videos come with a 4-slide template pitch deck. You don't have to create other slides beyond those 4. One of the 4 is called the white space chart. And that's relevant to DARPA beyond just ARIS, right? The white space chart is something that is leveraged heavily when you're talking about what potential impact can look like for your solutions. But what are the expectations, and how do these documents help a program manager efficiently assess a technology's mission relevance?
I'll introduce it, but you say white space chart around a program manager, and either their eyes light up or like the soul drops out of their body. So think about defining the state and art in a log type time frame, right? What you demonstrate on that white space chart and what you can back up in the video is so valuable to a program manager to march forward with and sell a program or go get funding. And if your video can show and demonstrate, or a conversation after marketplace approval, that yes, your technology is far high right, you are weaponizing the program manager to go fight for you.
All right. Next step, if you have a researcher or a project that requires a security clearance or secure research space, where do you send them, or how do you help if they don't have access already?
Is that me? Oh man. Okay. So the question is, how do we help folks? I'm but a program manager. All right. I'm not a security person. I just want to say that's it. So one of the kind of like amazing things about being at DARPA, right, is that we have an incredible infrastructure in the building, and we have a ton of support. And a lot of the support comes from folks who work on the security side to kind of help the program managers administer the program appropriately. This also gets back to eligibility criteria in our proposals. So one of the things that you'll see is that if you don't have certain things, so something that's going to be like a facilities clearance or staff who are eligible for a security level, it may be that you are not eligible to bid on a particular opportunity. However, you meet the minimum criteria for engagement in a program, there are mechanisms inside DARPA should additional access be required. But that is, there's processes for that. So prior to your coming into the DARPA ecosystem, really there's nothing that DARPA specifically can do. But once you are in the DARPA ecosystem, our job is also to help you both execute the program technically as well as programmatically.
Excellent. And I do just want to highlight, you heard from Chris earlier. He's here with us too. So in the next networking opportunity, please feel free to stop him and ask those security related questions as well. Next step, and I think this is probably our last question for this session. How does a program manager measure success throughout a program's life cycle? What are the key milestones or metrics beyond a final deliverable that are used to evaluate a performer's progress?
Well, I think right off the bat, it's performance against the program metrics. I mean, when we review programs, which we do annually, typically with leadership, that is one of the first things we start out with. Here's what we said we were going to do on the program. Here's how all of our performers are tracking to those numbers. And it's as clean as that. So we use the metrics to track performance. I would say beyond that, though, there's also some softer things we look at. One of them is transition. So sometimes a performer will be really proactive in seeking out transition pathways. We love that, right? Spinning out companies or things like that. So in my experience, it's definitely metrics, but then is a performer going above and beyond to think about transitioning and taking the technology to the next step?
Yeah, and I think, one of the things, so I think there's 2 hallmarks in terms of my programs that I really look for. One of which is I fully expect you to, if you are completely successful across the board, then to me, that's a signal that I failed because I didn't push you hard enough, right? I actually expect failure, right? One of the things that is very true in my program is, yes, I want you to meet the metrics because I did promise my boss that I was going to hit those. But more importantly, right, I think we want to know, right, empirically, if something is not possible, that's also just as valuable to us because it is actually an active hypothesis that we're looking to prove or disprove, right? And so given that, I actually think that failure is deeply instructive. But then one of the other things that I'm really looking for is as we bring people together across programs, across disciplines, right, to be able to have a conversation in the technology, it's also really important to me, how are you actually together synthesizing a language and a semantics around the problem? Because how you think about it and developing a degree of clarity around the problem space is one of the most powerful ways in which then that gets carried forward into the research community to keep pushing forward. And I think one of the things I look for is that kind of clarity.
Sort of just double click on that. And yeah, I make a distinction between failure of the program, because to me, failure of the program is make a hypothesis. The program fails is if we still don't know the answer to that hypothesis, right? So there's technical failure, right? That can contribute to, yeah, we know something's not true. Like that is now, technical failure can beget program success. We know that's not true. Like then that's I think an important distinction. And then the other thing too is if there's technical failure, why is there technical failure? Is it a knowledge gap, right? Is it a program structure? Is it two subs not getting along? It's like there's any reason. So the metrics are an easy to measure roll up of a bunch of other interactions, some of which we have control of, some of which we don't, right? And so ultimately, I think just doing a dissection and seeing if something misfires, where did it go wrong? I think that's another important kind of frame to think about success and failure.
Excellent. Thank you so much to our panelists for addressing these questions. If you have more questions that you've thought of as we were sitting here or throughout the day, you'll have an opportunity for the next hour to step up and ask those questions during conversations. But please feel free to email darpaconnect@darpa.mil if you have additional questions that weren't addressed today. That address is in the brochures. And for those of you online, we'll throw it in the chat so that you have it. We're happy to make sure that you get answers to the questions that you have and we can address them moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And as Jess mentioned, if we weren't able to get to your question, don't worry, there are lots of ways to get an answer. You can email our team, as she said, at darpaconnect@darpa.mil, or head over to your DARPA Connect account and sign up for one-on-one coaching sessions, or access the curated online curriculum, which has insights and information on every step of your DARPA journey. And with that, Jen, one more session from you, please. Bring this home.
Thank you, Sana. All right, we made it. Woo! What a day. I think we delivered as promised that it was going to be a lot of information and that you guys were going to be really exhausted. So congratulations, there's wine at the back. But no, before we wrap up, right, really, I try to think about what the walkaway, what the takeaway points are, right? And I really, I hope, and I actually, based on the conversations I heard, I think we actually achieved it, right? I think that walking away, you guys are all hearing that, DARPA holistically serves the warfighter, and to be thinking about how you can fit into that ecosystem and that they actually want to hear from you. I mean, this was true banter up here. Oftentimes our PMs are on the road 100+ days a year. They don't always get to chat with each other unless they're here or we're having events. They'll talk on the phone, they'll maybe email, but this was true banter. This is true collegialness. They really do want to hear from you. They really are, as Tiffany likes to say, putting their pants on one leg at a time. The really big takeaway for you guys is that you really should be chatting with them. Really, they are the keys to DARPA and they want to hear from you. And by sending your Hamar email to them, by signing up with the DARPA Connect coaching sessions, right? You could be giving them their idea for their next program, Seedling, Eric's Topic, or SIBR. They are about 115 strong. They need you guys for their market research. So I really hope that this has sort of demystified the agency a little bit and really encouraged you to join us and work with us. And with that, I will thank you guys all for your time. And thank you to the DARPA Connect team, all the staff that has made everything happen seamlessly today. It has been really wonderful. So I very much appreciate all of you guys and your support. And with that, let's get to our last networking session. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. We've covered a lot of great content today, but it's time to switch gears and get a little bit more relaxed, courtesy of Next Frontier Capital and Montana Photonics and Quantum. Folks in the room with us here in Bozeman, please exit the room using the double doors to your right so you can give us your survey, grab a drink ticket, and then make your way back into this room for the networking reception. Enjoy the evening, and thank you for being a part of DARPA Connect.